Jaya Girivaradhare Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhare Jaya Girivaradhare Gopijana Jaya Girivaradhare Jaya Girivaradhare Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajanaranjana Jaya Yashoda. Everybody loudly please. Jaya Brajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunjavihari Jaya Kunjavihari Yamuna Jaya Kunjavihari Jaya Kunjavihari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunjavihari Jaya Kunjavihari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunjavihari Jaya Kunjavihari Oh Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunjavihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhare Jaya Girivaradhare Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhare Jaya Girivaradhare Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunjavihari Jaya Kunjavihari कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय जय Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, oh Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivājikācārya Aṣṭottara Śrī Śrīmad Bhagavatam Sabhai Charnārvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Grantharaj Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nishtiki Om Ajnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansha Śrī Rūpam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate गोपेश गोपिकाकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Switch off the phones. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 83, Text 8 and 9. Śrī Rukmiṇī uvāca caidyāya mārpayitum udyata-kārmukeṣu caidyāya mārpayitum udyata-kārmukeṣu rājasv ajeya-bhaṭa-śekharitāṅghri-reṇuḥ ninye mṛgendra iva bhāgam ajāvi-yūthāt tac-chrī-niketa-caraṇo mamārcanāya. Translation. Śrī Rukmiṇī said, when all the kings held their bows at the ready to assure that I would be presented to Śiśupāla, he who puts the dust of his feet on the heads of invincible warriors took me from their midst, as a lion forcibly takes his prey from the midst of goats and sheep. May I always be allowed to worship those feet of Lord Krishna, the abode of Goddess Shri. Purport. Lord Krishna's pastime of kidnapping Rukmiṇī is narrated in detail in chapters 52 through 54 of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam's 10th canto. Text 9. Shri Satyabhama Vacha Yo me sanabhivadatāptaredātatena liptābhishāpamapamārshtumupājahāra jitvarksharājamatratnamadātsatena भीतः पिता दिशतमां प्रभवेऽपि दत्ताम्. Somebody can follow now. Anyone else? Shri Satyabhama uvāca. Shri Satyabhama said, Yah who may my sanabhi of my brother vadha by the killing, tapta distressed, rida whose heart, tatena by my father, lipta tainted, abhishapam with condemnation, apamarshtum to cleanse away, upajahara he removed, jitva after defeating, riksharajam the king of the bears, Jambavan, atha then ratnam the jewel Shamantaka, adat gave, saha he, tena because of this, bhitaha afraid, pita my father, adishata offered, mam me, prabhave to the Lord, api although, dattam already given. Translation. Shri Satyabhama said, my father, his heart tormented by my brother's murder, blamed Lord Krishna for the crime. To remove the stain on his reputation, the Lord defeated the king of the bears and took back the Shamantaka jewel, which he then returned to my father. Fearing the consequences of his offense, my father offered me to the Lord, even though I had already been promised to others. Purport. As described in chapter 56 of this canto, King Satrajit had already compromised himself by promising his daughter's hand first to Akrura and then again to a number of other suitors. But after the return of the Shamantaka jewel, he felt impelled by his shame to offer her to Lord Krishna instead. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, the word prabhave unto the Lord answers any doubts as to the propriety of offering Krishna a bride who had already been promised to others. It is perfectly proper to offer him everything one owns, and improper to withhold anything from him. Hare Krishna. A very warm welcome to all of you for this morning's Śrīmad Bhagavatam class. Thank you for coming. I would like to specially thank His Grace Dharmatma Prabhu for making sure that I get my purification dose whenever I am here in Shri Vrindavan Dham. The Śrīmad Bhagavatam explains Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayanaha. For the ears, this is the best medicine. Oftentimes we read and we hear from various speakers that a temple is like a hospital. And in a hospital, there is a special place which is of great importance. That is the emergency ward. So I would say that the Śrīmad Bhagavatam session, especially in the temple hall, is the emergency ward of this temple, which is solely meant to treat the dreadful disease of ignorance in the society. So I would like to begin today's session by straightaway getting to the immediate dosage of the medicine, and then we'll talk about the importance of the medicine in the subsequent part of the class. The medicine is the nectarian pastimes of the Lord and His devotees. Here in this material world, Krishna sends His purest associates for all of us to witness the splendor of His great mercy. I would like to share a beautiful pastime of our beloved Acharya Srila Prabhupada. This was in the early 70s when Srila Prabhupada was once in the Kumbh Mela in Prayagraj. And the devotees had made a beautiful tent for Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was relaxing. It was the day of Ekadashi, and Prabhupada was speaking. And during the course of his talk, he said, "It is very nice to have lotus pods roasted with ghee on Ekadashi." And as the devotees loved Srila Prabhupada so much, as soon as they heard from Prabhupada, some of them immediately started, to find out where we can get these lotus pods. And just at that moment, a devotee from the Ramananda Sampradaya, wearing the Ramananda Tilak, walked in, along with his 5-year-old son. And he sat right in front of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada recognized him, and he was very happy to see this Ramananda devotee. Prabhupada said, "Aiye, beto, beto," he said in Hindi. Prabhupada said, "Darshan karaye aap, Sangam par jaake aa gaye. Did you already go to the Sangam?" At that moment, that Ramananda devotee, he took out a nice plate from his bag and placed it right in front of Srila Prabhupada and requested to put his lotus feet on the plate. And Prabhupada very graciously accepted it. He placed his lotus feet on the plate and he started chanting beautiful mantras in glorification of the Acharya. And he started bathing Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. And all the devotees were so excited because it was very rare to get Srila Prabhupada's Charanamrita in those days. And then this Ramananda devotee said, "वो संगम पे जाके मैं क्या करूँगा प्रभुपाद, जब सारे तीर्थों का संगम आपके चरणों के अंदर ही है." He said, "What will I go to that Sangam, O Srila Prabhupada, when all the holy tirthas and all the holy rivers are right at your lotus feet? I heard that you are not going to the Ganges because of your health, so I brought the Ganges, and here is my real Sangam. This is where I have come to bathe, take my bath." And Prabhupada smiled. Prabhupada looked at the 5-year-old boy and said, "Give me this boy, I will make him an Acharya." So he smiled and said, "Prabhupada, he's too young, and I'm training him for, Sanskrit grammar. I want to train him in Shankar Bhasya so that he can grow up and fulfill the desire of our Acharya to defeat the Shankar Bhasyas." Prabhupada said, no need all that. Just give me your boy, I'll make him an Acharya." He once again said, "Prabhupada, abhi bahut chota hai. He's too young. He'll be a nuisance for you. Let him grow up. He's your property. I will send him to you." So in this way, Prabhupada also laughed and he rubbed his hand on that 5-year-old boy's head. And then after a few minutes, the boy and his father left. Almost about 20 years later, a group of our devotees were again in Prayag during the Kumbh Mela. And the devotees heard that the Ramanandis have put up a very big pandal, because the big news in those days was that a young sannyasi of the Ramananda Sampradaya has done a wonderful feat. He has brought together the entire Sampradaya, which was breaking into different pieces in all these years. So the devotees felt, let us go and meet this Acharya. So as they entered the pandal, they saw this young sannyasi, about 25, 26-year-old. And he was effulgent. And there were 3 times of his age, sannyasis and elderly men, worshipping him and, showing him the charmer. Because he was that Acharya, that young sannyasi, who had done this great task of reuniting the Ramananda Sampradaya. When the sannyasi saw the ISKCON devotees, the Hare Krishna devotees, he stopped his worship, he stood from his asana, he folded his hands and started greeting the devotees. Some of them were sannyasis in our team. And they started chanting the sannyasa mantras in welcoming the sannyasa devotees. And this personality, at the spur of the moment, he recited some beautiful poetry. And in this poetry in Sanskrit, what he said was, I will not be offending any of our present acharyas, as well as our founder Acharya, Ramananda, if I say that never in the past has there been, and never in the future will there be, an Acharya like His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Our Acharya Ramananda had this vision that one day Krishna consciousness will be spread all over the world. But we can see that this has already been done by Srila Prabhupada. And we are so honored to have these wonderful devotees here. So one of the devotees, Atma Tattva Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple, and this sannyasi came to Atma Tattva Prabhu and said, Atma Tattva Prabhu, do you remember me? As a 5-year-old boy, I used to climb on your shoulders and you would take me around in the Padayatras. And how is Lokanath Swami? He used to call him the old man because Lokanath Maharaj had all these gray hairs. And then he recalled that you remember that Ekadashi day when Srila Prabhupada insisted that I should come to him and he will make me an Acharya. To my great misfortune, my father didn't allow me to go at that time because I had to go to Banaras to study all the Shankar Bhashyas. So I spent several years Sanskrit Vyakaran studying the Shankara Bhashyas. But the one incident that Prabhupada rubbed my head that day took its effect. And what Srila Prabhupada that day prophesied, he instantly made me an Acharya. And today, whatever I have been able to achieve, this reuniting of this entire Sampradaya is only because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So my dear devotees, I have narrated this story to remind all of us the supreme fortune that we have of being under the divine shelter of such a great Acharya as Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada had the expertise of dealing with great diplomats, journalists, politicians, simple-hearted devotees, even monkeys sometimes in Vrindavan, and also small little 1-year-olds. There's one incident one Mataji shared, that she came to Srila Prabhupada's room here in Vrindavan with her 1-year-old daughter. And as 1-year-olds are, she was very mischievous and she was touching here and there, and she touched Srila Prabhupada's papers. And the mother was trying to discipline, no, don't touch this, don't touch that. So she grabbed the child back. And then Prabhupada was meeting some other devotees also at that time. So then she somehow sneaked towards Srila Prabhupada and started grabbing Prabhupada's lotus feet. And then again this mother pulled the child. Prabhupada said, you must discipline your child properly. If the child is touching my papers, that is not allowed. But the child can hold my feet because that are hers. So just see the world Acharya, he is dealing with hundreds of things. But this is the nature of a pure devotee. He will not let go even a smallest incident in making it very special. So the mother had tears in her eyes when she heard what a sweet remark Srila Prabhupada gave. That my lotus feet are hers. She can have them. A few other pastimes I would share, and then we will get into the discussion also. This story actually brings out the amazing glory of Srila Prabhupada's divine association even after Srila Prabhupada has physically left us from this planet. A few years ago, a Sankirtan party from the France temple, from the Paris temple, was traveling in different parts of Europe. And they were in a train which was going towards Madrid. And there were a lot of youngsters, young girls and boys who had taken book bags. It was the month of December, the marathon was going on. So this young girl who was distributing books, what she was doing was she was jumping into the trains, showing books, and just before the train was about to leave, she would come out and go into another train. So as she was showing books in one of the trains, there was one very hefty, rough-looking guy, and he caught her attention. And she, in her own humility, she was showing the book. It was the Krishna book. He grabbed the Krishna book, and with his huge arms, he just tore it apart into 2 pieces. And then he grabbed that innocent young girl by the hair and started pushing her off the train and threw her as the train was in motion. And she fell crashing on her face. She had bruises. She was in tears. She was shivering. She was shocked with what had happened. And the devotees were shocked. And she was almost bleeding. And Indradumna Maharaj was there, and they all came together and they got her back to the temple. But by Krishna's mercy, she was okay, and after 4 or 5 days, she was back doing book distribution. On the other hand, this descendant of Jagai and Madhai, we can say, he went home with that torn copy of the Gita, of the Krishna book. He wanted to show his wife what he had done. Look, I tore this book apart and I gave that girl what she deserved. And they all had a big laugh, and then he threw the book somewhere in his house. A little while later, the maid came, and the maid saw, oh, this is some nice book. I think they, somehow damaged it. So she took it home. She again pasted everything together. She fixed the book and she brought it back and she put it in the shelf. 1 year passed. After a year, he got a news that his beloved wife, he died in a fatal crash. A car crash took her life. Instantly, she was dead on the spot. And meanwhile, her children had left. The daughter got married to some idiot and the son ran away. And he was left all alone and he was crying like anything. He was in such a shock. What has happened to me? He was suicidal. He wanted to kill himself. He was not able to handle all this. And as Krishna says in the Gita, one who is in distress, he is a good candidate. So just because he was in so much of distress, he was looking at his bookshelf looking for a Bible. And then he saw this taped up book. He said, what is that book? And he reached out and he saw that was the Krishna book. He opened the Krishna book and he read the chapter where Vasudeva is preaching to Kamsa. Oh Kamsa, why are you so attached to this life? Don't you understand? The soul is eternal. Death is simply a changeover of the body. So why do you have to be so attached to what you have in this life? How can you commit such a heinous crime? So there's a beautiful description of Vasudeva discussing about the eternal aspect of the soul. And reading that, this person had a transformation in his heart. He said, if this is true, my wife has not really died. She is an eternal soul. And that gave him some solace. And he was a banker by profession. So he called in the bank and said that I'm not coming to work. Because he wanted to read the rest of the book. 3 days he did not go to work and he read the entire Krishna book, cover to cover. And by the end he was in tears, crying, what have I done? And he was searching for an address. Where can I find that girl? And he found the address of the ISKCON temple in Paris. And he reached out to the temple. He went in a suit and tie and in a full, professional uniform, and he came in front of the temple. And as soon as the temple doors opened, he started crying with his folded hands, please forgive me, please forgive me. And it was the temple commander, he didn't understand. He said, what's wrong? What happened? Would you like to come inside? And he narrated the whole story. And then they pacified him, said, don't worry, this was several years ago. We don't even know what you're talking about. And he had some prasad. He saw the deities. He started associating with the devotees. And he had such a transformation in his heart. By the association of devotees, by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, that he requested, can I stay here? Can I join your temple? And he joined, and then came the December marathon, and he said, please let me also go and distribute books. And he joined the book distribution party. And then, after a few years, when he was distributing books, he happened to come to one of the temples where he saw the same girl distributing books. And this huge personality, now with shaven head, he fell flat in front of that Mataji and said, please forgive me, please forgive me. Whatever I did was so bad. And he was crying tears. So dear devotees, there are hundreds and thousands of such stories of transformation that have happened, that are happening, and that will keep happening in this glorious moment of Krishna consciousness. In this particular episode that we are reading here, what we are reading is the enthusiasm of two personalities. Draupadi, on one hand, is eager to hear from the wives of Lord Krishna. How did it happen? How did they get Krishna as her husband? Now, if you compare women talking to each other in this world, oftentimes we see there's a lot of gossip. Especially you go to weddings and you go to any functions and you'll see a lot of gossip. That's nothing new, because that is how, like Prahlad Maharaj says, Matirna Krishne Parata Svatova Mito Bipadyet Griha Vritanam Adanta Gobhir Vishatam Tamishram Punah Punah Charvita Charvananam. That those who are materialistic minded, their interest is only to talk about the body and the pleasures of sense gratification. And in this mood, what they are doing is just chewing what has already been chewed again and again. So this is what is Gramya Katha. This is the mundane gossip that everyone in this world is addicted to. And they are never tired. People speak for hours and hours and hours. On phones, on WhatsApp chats, on different platforms and social media. What is the world doing today? Now, if you see the other end, the purest end also, the same thing happens. A devotee is recognized by the enthusiasm and the eagerness to hear about Krishna. That is the foremost nature of a devotee. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, who is the Shravanacharya? King Parikshit. And just see his enthusiasm to hear. And we all know that Parikshit was not an ascetic. He was not, a person who was in the renounced order. He was a king. He was living in opulence. And yet, when he heard that he was about to die in 7 days, he decided to surrender everything to the Lord, and he just wanted to sit and hear Krishna Katha. And what was his enthusiasm? 4 days of Śrīmad Bhagavatam Katha. Atra, Sarga, Visargascha, everything. Shukdev Goswami was speaking in details about the creation, the secondary creation, about the various aspects of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. And finally, on the 4th day, and all these 4 days, there was no break. There was no break for prasadam or any rest. That is called enthusiasm. And at the 4th day, when Shukdev Goswami began describing the beautiful pastimes of Lord Krishna, he said, Nivritta tarshay rupagiyamana bhavaushada chotra manobhiramat ka uttama shloka gunabhiramat puman vidajyed vinapashuknat. The beautiful nectarian pastimes of Krishna are so sweet and so nectarian that only a fool who has no idea about what true happiness is will ignore this beautiful rendition. And in this way, he requested Shukdev Goswami at that time. Now, ordinarily, when we are speaking, I'm sure Dharmanda Prabhu also would want to tell me that your time is getting up, man. He said please don't go fast now. His request was, आराम से सुनाइए, अच्छे से सुनाइए. I want to hear the pastimes of Krishna properly. And that is why we see there are 90 chapters in the 10th canto where all the beautiful pastimes of Krishna have been beautifully described. So dear devotees, as I was just talking about the subjects of the Bhagavatam, atra sarga visargascha, sthanam poshanam utaya, manvantara ishanu katha, nirodha muktirashrayah. Of these 10 subjects, one is extremely important, and that is poshanam, the protection of the Lord. And a major portion of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam talks about this poshanam aspect. The Lord is giving us the protection in so many ways. Today, here, in the age of Kali Yuga, right here in 2025, the Lord is extending His merciful protection through the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Krishne swadham upagate dharma jnana dibhisaha kalau nashta drishamesha puranarko dhunordita. This Śrīmad Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna himself. So anyone who really wants to keep himself and his loved ones away from the effects, from the ill effects of Kali Yuga, must carefully hear Śrīmad Bhagavatam every single day. So this is Shravanam, this is real hearing. In Srila Prabhupada's own words, submissive oral reception is what is hearing. There is listening and there is hearing. I oftentimes tell this story that there was going on and there were 3 dolls kept outside the pravachan, and they were exactly identical dolls, but they had different price tags. The first doll was for free, 0, no amount. The second one was for 100 rupees, and the third one was 1,000 rupees. And all the devotees, all the audience was walking inside, they were looking at their dolls, and they heard the entire lecture. And when the lecturer asked any questions, obviously everybody had the question, what about these dolls? And why they are exactly identical but different prices? The lecturer was very happy. He said, this is a beautiful depiction of what is the value of hearing. Now he told one of his servants, bring all the dolls here. And then the first doll, he had a wire in front in his hand, and he passed the wire through the ear of the first doll. And can you guess what happened? The wire straightaway passed through the other ear. The price of this doll was 0. It was for free, no use. The second doll, the wire went inside but got stuck. It didn't go further. It didn't come out from here, but it got stuck. So there was some value to this. And the third doll, the wire completely went through inside to the heart of the doll. Now I hope all of you got the point that real hearing is when we are receiving the knowledge in a submissive mood. And just like Draupadi had this intense desire to hear about Krishna's pastimes, we should all also have the same desire, even if we have heard them again and again. What to speak of the devotees of Krishna? Krishna himself, as Jagannath, he has manifested the intensity and the eagerness that he feels to hear his own pastimes with his devotees. So, in today's discussion, this is what I felt like drawing from these purports and from these contexts, that what is the real crux of spiritual life? The protocol that Srila Prabhupada established for the Śrīmad Bhagavatam class was that we somehow or the other come every day, nityam bhagavata sevaya, to refresh our eagerness to hear and chant the holy names. So with these few words, I will stop here. I apologize if I went over time. If anyone has any comments, anything that you would like to share or correct anything, please feel free, sir. Yes, Prabhu.
Father of Satyabhama, he already promised to give Akruji. So this Akruji is so elder than Krishna. So can you explain this? Because sometimes there is in my mind and I disturb sometime after reading this text. How it possible this to Hare Krishna?
Well, we are talking about an era which is hundreds and thousands of years ago. So yes, although Akrurji was older than Krishna, I'm sure there was a provision in those days where marriages could happen like that. I mean, I don't think there's any other logical explanation for that, for this. Like there are so many marriages we have seen in Sita Swayamvar, so many kings who were almost grandfather's age of Sita were also there, because that was how, I guess, the traditions were in those days. If anyone has a better explanation, you can please give that to me. Anything else anyone wants to ask or share? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Like you narrated the story that book distributor, that person was abusing that book distributor, later joined and apologized to Allah. So do you know that people who are those devotees?
We have to write to Indradyumna Swami for that. Because I read this account from Indradyumna Maharaj's diary, and even Maharaj said that I forgot the name of this person. But he's somewhere there, I'm sure. Hare Krishna. Granthra Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Radha Lita Vishakha Devi ki, Shri Nitai Gaur Chandra ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.